Good? Good? Call meeting to order. We'll have Pledge of Allegiance led by Trustee Brooks. There's a flag back here in the corner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, before we move on to the agenda, I have a statement here from the board, on behalf of the board, that I'd like to read. First and foremost, on behalf of the board and the district, I wish to personally thank all the individuals who came forward with concerns about our former high school principal. It is not easy to raise such concerns, especially against a high-level administrator. We appreciate and admire your courage in doing so. I would also like to thank the district's human resource team that investigated these matters promptly and thoroughly. They did a good job of assuring the process was objective so that the district superintendent could make an informed decision. The district cannot comment on the specifics of the student allegations, as doing so could violate state and federal student privacy laws. However, we can inform you that the human resource team thoroughly investigated the allegations against Mr. Niles, including interviews with 20 witnesses and Mr. Niles himself. The results of this investigation were reviewed by Mr. Hilderly and the district's legal counsel, and it was determined that the legal standards for discipline did not support termination, and the assigned discipline matched the level of allegations that could be proven by the preponderance of the evidence. The Board of Education considers transparency, exceptional instruction, and professionalism as essential pillars of our district. We do not tolerate hidden decision-making. That's why we've been very public about the allegations from the beginning. We also do not tolerate unprofessional behavior on any level. That is why Mr. Hilderly imposed discipline and corrective training to the former high school principal. Lastly, we will not tolerate behavior that compromises student safety, and we will not tolerate further employment of any district administrator, including Mr. Niles, if we believe student safety is compromised in any way. If in the future any student believes they have been subject to inappropriate behavior, we encourage them to contact an appropriate administrator, the superintendent, and the local police department. At this time, this will be the only comment from the board on this situation. All right, let's move on to the rest of the agenda. Good news, Mr. Hilderly.
Yes, we have with us tonight one of our middle school teachers, Joe Bundas. There he is. And he did a very special thing at the end of the school year. He sent an email and he asked for permission to start seedlings of 1,000 sunflowers. And he wanted to do so in order that he could grow those seedlings to the point where they could be sold by donation at the farmer's market here in town. And his intention for doing that was to donate the money to the displaced Ukrainian family, and I'll have him speak and introduce them in a moment, and was able to raise over $900 in his effort. And I just thought that it was special enough to ask Joe and the family to come to the board for a thank you. Not necessarily a board or even a school-sponsored event, but something that Mr. Bundas felt strongly about, and we absolutely wanted to support and therefore recognize this evening. So, Joe, can you come forward and tell us a little bit more about how it went and introduce your guests?
Can you come to the podium, Joe?
Watch the cords.
Yeah.
Now, you guys say your names. I don't want to mess them up.
Okay, so my name is Valeria Isakova, and my mom's name is Oksana Zholobova. We have different last names, but it doesn't matter. Okay.
So I saw the story in the paper about the sunflower pictures the art department was doing, and I thought, okay, I can grow sunflowers. That's easy to do. So I started with about 1,000 of them. The animals in my backyard helped me cut that down to about 500 over the course of the growing couple weeks. Uh, and it was crazy. I went to the farmer's market and people just kept giving me money. As soon as I got there, someone from one of the other booths gave me $100, and I'm like, "Hey, that's $100 bill." She's like, "I know, we're donating 10% of our sales to your fundraiser." And by the time it was all done, I was shocked. It was $900. So they showed up as well, and we made plans for dinner, and they cooked me a wonderful dinner. Went over to their house and transferred the money to them. But it was a nice thing to do, and I had the easy job. They had the hard job in terms of fleeing their country and being displaced, and all the things going back in Ukraine. So I was very happy I could help with Mr. Hilderly's support, and we ended up pulling it off. It didn't cost anything. It was just seeds I had laying around and trays and leftover potting soil that I'd used in other school projects. So we did it. Didn't cost anyone anything other than the time to grow them and then hand them out there at the farmer's market. So thank you for your support, Mr. Hilderly. I'm glad I could help support the community that's done so much for me here.
Thank you for being such a great person. I'm just gonna say that, yeah, we didn't actually like Carrie Madsen, the woman we're staying with, the host family. She showed us that Mr. Bandas is doing the fundraiser, and we're like, oh wow, it's like such a step forward, like nobody's asking, and it's like this special, like you have to grow and to put the time into it, and we're like, okay, we want also to support him because it's really hard, like to step forward and be like, I'm doing the fundraiser. So like, and we came there and supported you, and we wanted to also be part of it. And we're just like, we're super thankful, and we are happy we got to know Mr. Bandes because when we had dinner, and it's just nice to know a great person, and like nobody asked him to do that. So it was we're super happy. Thank you for doing it, and I wanted to know that we appreciate you as a person and the whole board that you helped Mr. Bandes do that. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank
We'd like
you,
to
thank
come
you.
around for a handshake.
Oh, yes, you are good. I also want. Oh, this is a good opportunity. Like any chance comes up to do any cooking. Yeah, the food is good.
And they make really good, what is the dish that you made?
Vareniki.
What is it?
Vareniki.
It's like a little kefli with strawberries in it, but it's boiled.
Yeah, it's
Boiled?
well,
Oh,
it's very
delicious.
Yeah.
Garden came from the garden behind the school. I went to summer school on Thursdays.
In Canada, they don't do free, I don't think. No, two, I think. Aw.
Thanks again, Mr. Bundes.
Paper would be nice.
All right, next on the agenda, public comment on agenda items only. There is a public comment later for non-agenda items. Please remember that all public comments will be held to a limit of 3 minutes. Is there anyone here who has a comment on agenda items? Scheduled reports. Bond committee. I guess I can speak. I know we didn't really determine a chairman of that. So we have met twice on the bond committee on the 27th of June and the 5th of July. Just a couple things have been, we're gathering our thoughts, but the first thing that we really identified was that the absentee ballots become available on September 24th. So certainly we understand that any informational documents and information that we're sending out need to be ready and prepared by then. So we're working very hard to do that. We have come up with I guess it's a slogan that will be used kind of in all of the key to all of our pamphlets. That will say strong foundation, strong future, safe, efficient, effective education. So that's kind of the cornerstone of the bond campaign. We're meeting again tomorrow, and we expect to have the first pass at the informational pamphlets available to us. Lots of debate about what is an effective way to effectively communicate. We are working on a separate website, so the information is easier to find rather than having to go to the TPS site, separate website, and we'll be able to track data on that, so we can understand if our message is being heard to the right places. Did I miss anything?
No, that's a good summary.
Yeah. So again, we are meeting every other. Yeah, it's Tim Simpson, Mary Tomlin, myself, Mr. Hilderly, people from Plant Moran, and I think Mrs. Lyons is also going to be joining us.
Oh, nice.
She did join us for the meeting, and I think she was
From
from up north, right?
Via Zoom.
So we are meeting every other week, starting again. We'll meet this Tuesday, and we'll meet every other Tuesday as needed up to the end of September or longer, probably. But that's twice a month to really move this thing forward.
Excellent.
Any questions?
For the website, are we gonna put a link on the TPS website, just in
Of course,
case that's
yeah.
where people go? Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a QR code that will be easily scanned to draw people to it. All right. If no questions, we'll go on to the budget committee meeting.
So the budget committee, we had, Tony and I were there. Mostly it was just the revisions. And so we know some of our per pupil we know some of the allocations now, but some of the stuff is still kind of in flux as to what it's gonna actually mean. So we know we budgeted for 335, the actual per pupil allowance is now 450, so we've got.
Addition,
a little-
450 addition.
So I think it was about 115,000 more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit more than we thought, which is okay, but it's not that much more. There was 400,000 that was allocated for special needs, so that's something.
They're asking you to speak up.
I don't think that, you know, people online can't hear, and I can't either, but
So there's 400,000 that's allocated to special needs, and let's see, we had there. This is one of the things that was kind of talked about, but in flux. So there's money put out there for about 50% towards the SRO, but it hasn't really been determined yet how they're rolling that out. So we know the possibility exists. We just don't know exactly how we've got to claim it yet. So that is something we're working on. There was $400,000 that was allocated for security upgrades. So that's awesome. And, oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm reading my note wrong. We had $1 million that we had allocated. It is now 400,000. That was us.
That's us.
That was us, right?
That's us,
Not
yeah,
them.
not the state.
Right. But the state did allocate 246,000 for security. So that was what we talked about.
Yeah, I think just to summarize, in total, from when we did the first budget, just the last meeting till now, we're receiving about $1 million more money than we expected. So this new budget from the state, because it's 480,000 for 490,000 for special ed. There was 180,000 additional funding for 31A. There's 130 for operations. There's the money for safety. There's the money for the SRO. So we're approaching, pretty close to $1 million on that. So that's what, and I don't think you mentioned that we moved the fund balance to
16, right.
yeah,
Again, that's all fluctuating. Right now it's at what, 16.9?
16.1. Yeah.
But we know it's not going to stay there. This is just because we've got funds we have to allocate. So
Can I ask a question? 31A is like for lots of things, but it can also be social, emotional, and things like that too.
Yes.
And can you give me the dollar amount on that again?
It's around approximately 189,000
Okay.
additional in at-risk
Additional.
bundle.
Additional, okay,
Additional,
And we had received about 700,000.
correct.
great. And then the SOR is separate than that,
SRO
right?
SRO is
Yeah,
separate
okay, I
from
just
that.
wanted to clarify, thank you.
And I think that was still another one that has got some things with it
Yeah.
that we have
Yeah.
to,
Right.
we have to figure out
We
how
have
we
to
can
match
claim
and-
it.
yeah, I
Right.
understand.
Do we know how much 31N we got for social emotional?
Well, you can
For-
use it for lots
For
of
mental
things.
health, we're getting approximately 246,000.
All right, thanks.
Kelly, do we know how much of that money is kind of one-time increase in funding because of the surplus from the state, and how much we expect to continue year by year?
With the exception of, well, I'm going to caveat it. It is the legislature and the governor. It's all subject to change. I would think the special ed and the at-risk funding will become permanent because those are changes that people have been pushing for a long time. Some of the other additional fundings that we're getting, the mental health, the SRO, the infrastructure funds, those are likely one-time funds.
So then you probably know my next request is to see what happens if those drop out next year, right? So, not immediate, but I think it's important for the board to see that.
I don't think we've actually allocated those yet.
Is that in the 16.9 now? Or are those just showing as cash right now in the 16.9, or are they covering expenses yet?
So some of the additional funding, because I didn't know how we were going to spend it, I didn't budget for yet, such as the
Okay.
mental health funds, because right now they would be new ways to spend money in so I left it out until we have a plan of action. The at-risk funding and the special ed funding, I put in the budget because we have things that obviously we can cover with that.
Gotcha. Okay.
The additional funding for SRO is, we don't know what it is, so that's not in. So there's more in that's not in, but there certainly is more to be put in that once we get the details on it.
But you think the SRO thing will not be permanent? It's a one-time thing? Or who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
It's an election year.
Right.
Who knows?
Also, the monies that we have discussed here the last few minutes, the grants and things like that, those don't impact the fund equity.
Right.
The fund equity is just the general fund monies. That would include the special ed, but not the 31A or the 31N or the SRO fund.
Because they're earmarked, we can't
Correct.
spend them for anything.
Right.
Right, okay. And thank you for covering the finance meeting, Mr. Ravatero.
Pardon me?
In my vacation absence, thanks for
Oh.
attending the finance committee meeting.
Yeah, I thought it was coming for Tim.
Oh,
No.
thanks Becky for handling both of us.
Hey, it was short and sweet, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, hey, good news is easy to handle, right?
Right.
I mean,
So-
You get
So
more
I
money
think-
than you thought.
I think the only other comment that I want to make is we seem to be blessed with additional money from the state every year. I don't think we can depend on that.
No.
So we can't feel really strongly positively about the fund balance. It's great news, but I think we still have to talk about what do we need to optimize in the district and what processes do we need to be in place to make sure that we're doing that, so that again, we're kind of not starting with a lower fund balance until we hear about what's coming, right? So how do we start putting more money away for a rainy day fund? That's the question. So, thank you.
well, certainly we have I guess my comment to that is we have a 16.1% fund equity balance right now without these monies. I would hope that, we could execute that budget and some of these monies would be, in there because there's always that something that comes up, right?
Right.
So-
But I think she might have meant too that we put a nail on exactly what we need, like probably the turf should have been in the budget every year, or whatever, the sidewalks or driveways or whatever, painting.
Right.
There should be a certain amount to keep us going.
There needs to be
Well-
a fund set aside for those items.
There's no doubt we need to increase the capital expenditure budget from what it's been
Right.
in recent years.
And I'm sorry, just one more clarification question. All positions are included in the budget, correct?
Yes.
Including the director of operations. Okay.
Correct.
Any
Is that
other
in there
questions?
Last year? That position, has it been in there in the budget for a long time?
It's been in there in the past, not last year.
I think last year we reallocated it.
All right, so any other questions? I just want to remind the board to please speak loudly and pull the microphones closer. All right, we'll move on to discussion items. The first item on for discussion are the building handbooks.
Right, that should be in your printed packet. My order goes Acres, Sutton, Herrick Park, Patterson. You would find those to be similar. Student handbook for the middle school looks mostly like the high school handbook, but not identical. Really no major changes in the handbooks. Every 2 to 3 years, we have them reviewed by Troon to see if there are any updates. Things that may need to align with changes in our policy that would also have to change in the handbook language. But at this time, the updates primarily are the new calendar, any changes in names or locations of things, but nothing significant to bring to your attention. But now you have a couple of weeks to look them over, and if you notice something, please let us know so that we can.
Who do we
make sure
email
that they're
something
correct.
to?
Send the email to myself and Veronica.
Okay.
Because the principals aren't all back to
All right.
work, so we would be able to take care of it.
I haven't completely read them all. I've skimmed them all. And there are a couple things that have come up already that I'd like just to get on the list that
Yeah, me
I feel
too.
need to be addressed. You want to go first?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, is that, I noticed that there's a dress code in both the middle school and the high school handbook. They are different. I personally feel strongly they should be the same. And I personally like the middle school
I do too.
dress code better than the high school dress code. So I guess I would ask that the administrators of those buildings maybe get together and work that out, because I do feel that we should be consistent across at least those two.
I agree with that too, because pattern and repetition is extremely important. It takes a long time to learn how to professionally dress and be prepared for school. And I think that would be a great foundation to start and continue.
I agree with all of that. I also think that there should be a dress code in the elementary schools too, just to kind of start it out when they're young, maybe not as specific. In the middle school, I totally agree with you that the high school is too vague. It really doesn't even say, how would you know if you even violated the dress code? But like body lower garments must completely cover the buttocks, private areas, and underwear. But what happened to the fingertip thing? I mean, that still could be shorts that are like underwear. So I think it should get more specific than it even is.
Well, the middle school speaks of inseams, but I think the reason I like the middle school dress code better is because it's
Oh,
specific
it does say
enough.
inseams must be 3 inches or longer.
Yeah, so it
It's
does
That's
very
not
give-
very far though.
It's
3
more
inches.
descriptive and helps both parents and students understand the expectations. There's really, including it, there are dress code items in the elementary and or the early and intermediate learning centers, and they are extremely vague. And I think to protect the student and protect the teacher and administrator, it needs to be more detailed.
I agree.
The other, any other comments on that item, that dress codes? The other thing that I noticed right away is that, and this happened last year, is this first page of every one of these pamphlets has the board on there, and it may seem trivial, but we're not getting the right people on there, and we're not getting the right titles on there. So, I mean, if we're gonna go to the effort to put them on there, let's get the person that's a treasurer to be the treasurer and the secretary to be the secretary.
I would say too, just the overall styling is not consistent from school to school.
Yeah.
If we're trying to brand the district, we should be, and even one of them, I can't remember which one, didn't have the latest vision and mission statement. So, there needs to be some consistency related to that. And I'd even like to see the flow of each handbook be in the same order of subjects, because for a parent that has a child in multiple schools, it just helps them maneuver those handbooks more if they need to. And so the fact that one is discipline first and another
Right.
one has attendance and another one has something else, it's better to try to, let's please make a consistent style and format for the handbooks. These handbooks are important. We have parents that are referencing them. Our teachers and administrators should be referencing them, and so they need to be consistent and have the same. It looks like, though, better than last year. Most of the language is consistent, except like dress code and seclusion and restraint. Does that not happen in the ELC and ILC? Because I think it does, and I think the problems that happen, like in Lincoln Ypsilanti, were in the elementary level. So a comment about seclusion and restraint is in the middle school and high school, but not in the elementary. So I think it's just a matter of maybe if someone can take them and do those checks and make sure that we're including everything. Again,
The high school
So
one
just
looks
kind of
mighty
like-
brief to me in comparison to the middle school and the elementaries. Did you feel
Yeah.
that way? Because I felt that way.
I think certain areas.
I feel
are.
like it needs, I know that they're older, but I also feel that it needs flushing out a little bit more in line with what the middle school has. So I would agree with you.
So just create a template so everybody can work around it.
Right.
I just
Yeah,
think
I'm
it makes,
surprised there isn't.
it makes sense for it to be consistent, but also, again, some people may never read them, but they are important documents that, again, provide protection to student and parents as well as to administrators and teachers. It's a joint kind of agreement document that everybody uses. So we want to make sure from school to school it's the same as well, because we luckily have parents who have kids in many different buildings. And so we want to make sure they have a consistent message.
Any other comments? All right, we'll move on to the child care handbook. Quite honestly, I had not spent any time reading that one yet, so I don't have any comments on it. I mean, again, we have two weeks.
Happy to look at that in more detail for sure. And the virtual, I need to spend more time on that one.
Does anyone have comment on that?
Just the same as previous. Let's
Yeah.
make sure everything looks
Consistent,
Consistent.
right. All right, next on the agenda, district Chromebook policy procedures. Now, we did this, we just got this. It wasn't in our packet that was sent to us via email. It is in the packet that we were given this evening. I guess my question would be, are there any changes from last year?
I see that.
The biggest change is no insurance.
Right.
Why did we do that? Why did we change that?
As of now, we have very, very little participation in that program.
Okay.
So we're just going to approach it from the pay for damages needed. And
I think
and
that's
honestly,
probably
we
hard
have,
to track,
we have very
too.
little damage.
The insurance and not, and getting the money and not getting
Oh.
money.
We had a discussion as a board at one point of us covering the insurance. We just opt out on that.
So are we seeing a lot of damage?
No, our damage rate for the last year is lower than industry standard.
Well, that's a change.
Good news.
We like to keep
That is good news.
It's those cases the kids hate.
The cases made a big improvement.
Mhm.
Okay.
Parents like them though. So I, as a parent, like that. So
Let me try to, unfortunately, put you on the spot. I mean, are we getting 5% damage of the use damage, 10%, 20,
About 12%.
12%?
So I would say, I think in at least one of the school handbooks, it still states the $30 insurance
does.
fee. So again, just let's make sure we're consistent. I know that's new, so that's okay that it's not consistent this evening.
So what's gonna be it gets damaged, they don't pay, they don't have a Chromebook?
They will be limited to use at school only. They won't be able, in the grades 7 through 12 that are back and forth use, those students would only have access to one at school.
Will there be help of some sort, like lunch programs, for needy people?
We
If they
typically
can't
cover,
afford to have it repaired?
we will cover based on need. As long as Devin and his group don't see something repetitive
Right.
that might make us suspicious. But in general, we would look at need in every case.
Any other questions for Devin on this?
I think to Mrs. Brooks's comment though, have we looked again at what the cost to have an insurance policy for the district would be?
Yeah, it averages 10 to 20% higher per device based on device cost to purchase that up front. So
Okay.
on an average of 250 to 280 for Chromebooks right now would be 10 to 20% higher. And based on our damage rate, just didn't seem feasible for us. But
What's
So-
the average cost per like damage? I mean,
250,
if there is such a thing.
the most common is screens. The new market value of the screen is about $70, but we've been exploring refurbished.
Okay.
parts. As the market has kind of caught up a little bit, parts were hard to get for the last 2 years. So as the market has kind of caught up, the parts market is falling. So we can easily obtain parts and more easily do these repairs at house.
Okay.
So we're looking at getting screens anywhere from $25 to $70, and that's most. So we'll be charging actual repair rates.
So at one point, there was a lot of issues with damage. And you're stating that that has gone down because of these cases.
Yes.
Do you charge your time to repair it also, or is that included in that?
There is a repair fee.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, so again, review this and we will take action at the next board meeting. Athletic ticket prices and participation.
What qualifies as a senior? Do I qualify?
Do you want to qualify?
I might.
What
You
is
are
the- What is the
retired.
age for senior? Do we know?
Well,
You know, it
in
is,
golf, it's 50.
Because it's
I
hard
could
to
go with
golf when
50.
you're old.
62, where I go.
you know, it's just, I use, as the middle school principal, I work the gate of events. And rather than ask people how old they were, which was in bad taste, we would just typically ask questions like, do you have a grandson or granddaughter that's playing tonight? And yes, okay, well, you're, you know, $3. So they don't really set an age limit.
$2.
Because, yeah, $2. So that's the way that gets played.
Or somebody
and I-
says, hey, I'm a senior, then you're like, okay, fine, here's,
Exactly.
give me
You're-
$2.
We're
unless
not
they're
gonna
12.
argue with folks.
Good plan.
So, yeah, it's a little touchy feely, but we don't have an age.
that's a
line.
good thing.
So I think, as I remember, that last year students got in with an ID for free, correct?
Yes,
So you're recommending a charge this year?
right.
And what's the thinking behind that?
Only the recommendation of all the athletic directors in our conference making that recommendations and everybody agreeing to go with it. These prices reflect the athletic directors in the SEC and their prices. So we attempted to fall in line with those. And our rate for adults went up to $6, but that includes the $1 fee that gets paid because we're cashless now, and you have to use the scan and pay app. So that it went up, but essentially it didn't because now we're paying the fee.
So if on the $2 student, are we paying $1 to use the app?
Not for the student. I don't think so. I think that the rate is less for the lower rated.
Do students pre-buy their tickets then, or their adult helps them if they don't have a card or whatever? How does that work?
That I don't know.
Would be interesting to know, like, because you know how parents, you give your kid, it seems like you don't give them 2, you give them 20 or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah, anybody can prepay.
I'm not,
purchase.
I'm not keen on us charging our own students.
Yeah, I would rather not charge our students. If we want to get school spirit up, it's a good way to drown it.
Mhm.
But we've
Start
had a
charging
couple
our own
years where they
students,
couldn't
so-
even attend,
Right.
so why discourage it?
Well, could it be such, if you're worried about the SEC that they have to pay? You have to do what you have to do if you're going to Dexter Pinckney,
Well,
but as
we're-
long as you're here,
But-
For home
but
and
they
here-
should be,
Yeah.
I agree, they should be free.
I don't. I think it should be what the SEC does. I think if $2, that's. I mean,
I
they all
know,
have
but-
iPhones.
But
You
you
don't
know
think they can
what?
afford
It's gonna be a
$2?
collection issue.
Oh, but it's
sure.
for every single. This is for all events.
Right.
All events that we charge a gate.
When a kid has to prepay every single time with the $2, trust me, middle school kids, I mean, they forget things. Parent didn't prepay for them ahead. It's
No.
just a nightmare.
Maybe hop on the fence.
And,
Oh,
and
God,
when these are only Tecumseh students that we're saying,
Right. Just our own.
non-Tecumseh students pay
Right.
the full, just like we do when we
Right.
go over there.
Correct.
Yeah, I would
Are we sure
support.
that's what we're doing?
Are we sure?
Because usually if you show your, at least when I was AD, if you had your school
ID.
Tecumseh ID and you went to another SEC school and showed it, you got the reduced amount. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, they still
totally-
get the $2 student rate, but
What's
they
that?
don't get, if we make our students free in Tecumseh, our students would still pay $2 if they went to another school.
Right,
Right,
okay. I
right.
just want to, so
But
that's the
I-
league thing. I thought so.
Having the school ID is essential because you have to,
Right.
you know, you have to be on site. You don't know every kid's name anymore. You know.
But that's not what this says. This says non-Tecumseh students, $6.
Right.
Right. I think Mary's saying with the student ID here, like if you are here and present your student ID
You're
as a Tecumseh
free.
student, that you should be free.
Instead of the $2.
Right.
Right, but, so, yeah, Tecumseh students with ID, free. Non-Tecumseh students with a Dexter ID, how much are we saying? $6?
That's what the SEC is charging, and that's what our kids are going to get charged when they go to that other
Right.
school. I mean, we can't change
That's right.
the rule
Right.
of other schools.
Because that's not what you were saying.
Oh, I
Greg?
didn't. I was saying that.
I just want to make sure that I was interpreting it the right way, so that if we say it's free, we can't tell our kids they can go to another school. and be
No,
free.
Right.
No.
No, they'll have to pay whatever Celine or Dexter.
That will require
But to
proper.
come support your home team at home,
Right.
I don't think you should have to pay for it.
I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we weren't thinking we can tell kids they can go to another game.
Oh, gosh.
Right, and then they get there and they don't
Right.
have any.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is the board's position that students with ID, Tecumseh students with ID should be free?
I so
Tecumseh.
move that do we need to move?
No.
Or we
I-
move
we've
it to
got-
action?
we've got
We'll just,
We've got an
I've,
action item.
I've
Okay.
taken under advisement.
Okay,
I'll make the
perfect.
changes and it'll be ready for approval at the
Perfect.
next meeting.
So we're not gonna
So
approve it
you
this
don't
week.
want me to put it on this one?
No,
Okay.
no, because it's only for a discussion.
But every,
No, it
every
is
other
on-
school
it is
has
on-
an
Other
action.
action items.
Oh, have you got an action for
Yeah.
tonight?
So then when we
Okay,
get
you
to
wanna-
that point, we can move.
Can we,
You want to table it?
Do you know of
table
other
this
schools?
one for the next meeting?
Yeah, I
Because
think so.
I want to make sure that our athletic department's not going to get major pushback.
Right.
from the
Right,
other
right. I don't want
athletic
to cause any
departments.
trouble for, I mean, if everybody's
Right.
doing it and
Yeah.
it's $2.
So we'll set that one aside and bring it to the,
I don't really know
Follow.
why.
Quite frankly, I don't care what
Yeah,
other schools are
neither
doing
do I.
at their
Right.
locations.
Yeah, that's.
I
not-
do. You guys cannot care if you don't want to.
I know that's very respectful. Suzanne,
Our
but
kids,
I-
our kids deserve it. If they're coming to support their team, they deserve to come support their team.
Okay, so we're gonna table this and not vote, not
and we
take
won't-
action.
We won't have any events between now and the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll be
Right.
good,
We're safe to wait a couple weeks.
right?
The first event is cross-country preview, right?
Yeah, I don't think you
But we
And
don't
they
charge
nobody
fees for
pays
that.
for that one, so it'd be the
You want a
first
motion
football
to
game
table it, or we're
probably.
just-
Football
We're
or
stating it.
Or
maybe
maybe-
a volleyball game.
maybe
before
volleyball.
it's on schedule.
Table the discussion.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Okay.
Keep in mind, some of us don't care that others aren't doing.
Well, Rick has asked to investigate it,
Yeah.
and we'll
I
bring
just
him
wanted
in.
a little time to check it out.
Right.
All right.
I'd like to know what other boards have to say about it too. That there's, maybe everybody's gonna say, hey, no, we don't want to charge students.
Yeah, maybe. See what I can find.
All right, next on the agenda, anything else on the athletics? Next on the agenda, food prices.
Can we use the right names? The document has the wrong school names on it. Still calling the middle school Compass.
Oh, I didn't catch that one. Thank you.
You're talking about the,
The list of meal
Middle school.
prices.
Yeah.
oh,
That's my only, I mean, did those rates change? We never get a variance from previous year, so did those, well, this past year was free. So is this a major change from the last time that students paid for meals?
Right, it's been a couple of years.
So-
It doesn't look like it, but just
I
went-
think that the change
it's the
with the
same.
high school, I think they went up, the premium lunch meal went up a quarter, and so did the traditional meal. I think that they were $3 and $3.50, and now they're up a quarter.
So are they,
I don't know how you
So-
put meals together for that amount of money.
is the USDA still paying for the lunches? Because this says if a second meal is requested. So are they paying?
I don't think the USDA is.
They're not
paying.
paying going into this school year. I mean, they subsidize,
Right,
but you know, it's not gonna be free as it's been for the last 2 school years.
okay.
Is that on
So-
the one you're looking at, Tim?
Where do you
I'm
see
looking
that?
at the motions.
It's in the,
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, gotcha.
I guess how is this is determined by the food services team?
No, it's actually determined by the state. It gets the contract renewal and the prices for the meal and the lunch get approved at the state level. And then that approval actually filters down to the board level after the fact.
So these are the prices the
Right,
state,
because those meals are federally reimbursed. It's a federal program, the free and reduced lunch program is. Breakfast and lunch, actually.
okay? So there's the prices, and then right after that is the SMC contract renewal.
Correct.
I mean, they're essentially the same. What's the difference? Well, that's the rates, but what is this contract telling us?
So when every 5 years, a district has to renew their food service agreement, and then the contract can be renewed up to 4 times in that 5-year period. This comes to third year on that 5-year contract. But again, the contract renewal, there's documentation that has to go to the state level and get approved. And then the state actually approves it first before it comes to the board level. So those are the state approved contract rates between the district and Airmark.
And what's the difference between these 2 pages we've received? Cost reimbursement and that one, so one's is saying we're agreeing to pay $56,000.
The 56,000 it's a set aside in escrow. The district gets that money back.
And the second page is the actual contract.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Facility usage fees. I am
changes.
a little confused by these 2 documents. So what are can someone explain the 2 documents to us?
The first one is the proposed, the second one is the current.
So this one is with the orange on it is proposed.
Correct.
So in some cases, are we recommending we are reducing our fees?
Tom, would you like to speak for that?
This is gonna be will be proposed, a few months ago. Some of them will be reduced. They're a little bit high, based on what we looked around.
So there's comparisons here. Looks like we've got. don't show some picture.
So what is the second page? This is what last year's was? This is last year's?
In
Yes.
comparison to
I
the
think it's
schools.
our fees and then comparisons.
All right, so as an example, middle school cafeteria, we had said category 1B, 35,
It's right
category
after,
250, 200. Now we're saying
Right after this.
25 an hour, 50 an hour?
We're too far down.
So we're going to hourly fees as opposed to flat rate fees?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
And category 1 won't pay anything, right?
This is based off, other different criteria. Our training facilities.
Can you just step forward so everyone can hear? Thank you. So please repeat that.
Based off location. Michelle Smear had done a study, she went through and called different districts in our local area, or different districts of the same size, and what they were charging, and so we based that off of those.
So it looks to me like we're going to more to an hourly fee as opposed to flat rate, because everything this year for us is hourly, right? Does anyone have any other questions other than myself?
I appreciate the comparison.
Is everyone comfortable voting on this today?
Like, yeah, your time's good.
Pardon me?
I don't mind tabling this to look at it a little bit more closely.
Sure.
I mean,
Now
I
that
didn't-
it's printed, I think it's easier to see than on the computer, and that would give me a little bit more time myself.
So most schools do hourly, sounds like. And that could hurt or help, or will it mostly help? Are they normally over, like, say, the $200 category? Are they normally in there for more than 4 hours? Okay, I was just wondering.
We don't have it for a lot. Mostly it's.
Right. Yeah.
All right, so.
Any other comments? Does the board want to table this as well and review it? We have consensus on that? Lynn, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm fine with
Greg?
tabling it.
Everybody else is giving me, Suzanne, everybody else is giving me,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
fine.
that's okay. So we're all, I mean, again, normally, the normal way is we'll get the information, have it explained to us, and then review it. And again, we're not gonna rent this gym out, I don't think, before the next meeting, so. or
Probably
the-
not, no. Be all right.
So we're gonna table this as well. All right, board meeting schedule. If I could start it, I guess I will start again. The first thing that is blaring is that March 27th is spring break. So I've taken a look at this and kind of looking at the dates. Obviously, I think we'll all agree we don't want to meet on spring break,
Mhm.
right? You sure?
Well, and I was gonna bring that one up, and also if you go back up to December 19th, that is also now in our winter break. The last day before winter break is now the 16th, Friday. So the 19th falls within winter break.
We generally don't have that second December meeting
Right.
anyway.
We don't usually have that, but I wasn't gonna presume to scratch it. It's the board's decision.
Okay.
And same with the 27th.
Well, I'd like to go back to the 27th. I'd like to change my suggestion to, not just personally, my suggestion is we move that one ahead and we kind of move them all ahead. So if we go back to January 9th, then it's 2 weeks to the 23rd. And then if you go 2 weeks to the 6th of February and 2 weeks to the 20th and 2 weeks to the 6th and 2 weeks to 320. So it's basically 320, move it ahead to 320 and then go 2 weeks, every 2 weeks to start off. Otherwise, you're going to have, at some point, you're going to have like, if you just leave, move it to 320, then you're meeting on the 13th and the 20th, just a week later. So I was just kind of suggesting going every 2 weeks to kind of get us started.
Could you repeat that? Like you said, the February 13th, you were proposing.
So I
the
was, let's
6th?
start at the 27th and move that to the 20th, because we all, I think, can agree that that's
February
spring
20,
break.
okay.
And then if you just leave everything else alone, March 13th is just a week earlier than that. I'm saying move that to 3/6.
Yeah, you could really start in February, right? Move the first
Move-
meeting in
Yeah,
February.
really,
to
you're
the
starting
6th,
in,
then.
January and, or every 2 weeks. And then February 6th is 2 weeks after January 23rd. And then February 20th is 2 weeks after the 6th. Just kind of go every 2 weeks for that first couple months.
Like that.
One thing you're gonna run into is you're gonna be running into city council meetings the same night, doing that. For me, I would keep it like this because I'll be honest, I think we get to that March 27th. There's not gonna be anything to talk about at that board meeting because everybody's gonna be out of town. And I think you could just.
If
move
we have to
that,
have a
so-
special meeting, we could.
Right, we could,
So you're
we could
saying
change,
not move the meeting to the 20th?
I would just leave where these are right now, I would leave them, and if we need to change them in the future, we can. So-
I I'd actually propose we just change the March 27th to March 20th and we make the decision on March 13th if we have the 20th
Right.
meeting.
Yeah. I could
Same
live with
thing,
that.
I
but
can live
just
with
it
that.
makes sure there's a date on the calendar, right, for all of us to plan.
Because I do think it's nice if the city and the school have them on different nights. That way if the public wants to attend, both
Yeah.
of them, they have the ability to do so.
Okay, so you,
Okay.
is the board liking moving it to the 20th?
Yeah.
And how about December 19th? Again, do we want to, well, that's still a week. It's only
Why
a
don't we
week
just
after
see
12.
where we're at on our December 12th meeting?
I think last year we moved on this to cancel it
Yeah.
and said we would discuss in December if we needed a special second meeting.
So just leave it. for
So
now.
leave it and we'll change it.
Yeah, either way, it doesn't really matter. We decide on the 12th to cancel it, or we cancel it now and we decide on the 12th to have a special meeting. It's kind of the same action, just different times. I'm okay leaving it on there. I know I will not be present for the 19th, but
The other date, potential conflict date I see is that I'm pretty sure November 14th, there will be at least two board members missing, and we can leave that there, but I don't know if we want to.
I don't know. It doesn't start till the 15th, so we expect you to be here.
Well, I'm just saying, there'll
All the time.
be two of us not here. And again, that's the meeting after the election, so we want to leave it there, but just know that we'll be 5.
I
Okay.
also will be leaving a lot.
Where are the other two going?
They're gonna go
I'm
in the
gonna go on
woods.
a trip in Atlanta to Melissa's. I won't be
Trustee
here.
Lewis and I will not be here on the
So,
14th.
so
Tony, I
Try and
will
kill
most
Bandy?
likely
Not
not be
me.
here on the
Yeah,
14th.
they are.
That's when
I got
I'm
time for
doing that thing for at my daughter's, so I will not be here on the 14th.
Okay,
Of November?
No.
so you'll still have a quorum of 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feeling sick, Tony. You might have to come
Do we
out
want to
of the
leave it
woods.
or do we want to move it?
Just leave it.
All right. So the only change we're going to make is we're going to move it to March 27th meeting to the 20th.
I'm not deer hunting.
yes.
That's what I heard.
I am not cool enough for
Okay.
that.
You, Justin, you got that?
I'm working on it.
We're moving too fast? You got it?
Nope, I got it.
All right, memberships and appointments. Can someone explain these documents to us? To me? What do we have to do here?
You're just renewing your membership as a Michigan Association of School Boards member. And MHSAA, a district, must be in that membership in order for athletes to participate in the state tournaments. So,
Not to mention all the help they've given us in reorganizing and training and our strategic plan and the classes we can take.
right.
So then page 2, it talks about a lot of designations. We need to go through and designate these people now?
Yes, but are there any changes from current condition?
Anything different under there, Kelly, that you can
They all
remember?
look the same.
Yeah,
I think these
okay.
are standard
Yeah, it's just a
administrative meeting.
verification of things we're already doing.
So I think the two that would change, right, would be appointment of legal firm, but that's staying the same with True and Law, and the cooperative agreement to work with Kyle Hoffman are the same as last year. Okay, so I think the two things that would potentially change but aren't changing are the appointment of the legal firm. So Troon is our current legal firm. And then the cooperative agreement with LISD to work with Kyle Hoffman, I think is the same as current. And then the following bank, the bank is Premier Bank. I don't think that's changing either, right?
Right.
So I think all the other things are standards that we do. And it doesn't appear that we are changing anything from this year
How does
to
the
next
motion
year.
That we're just,
For these
approving
assignments.
appointments. That we are just approving memberships and appointments as recommended. It's very simplified.
Yeah,
So-
this is a standard thing for for this meeting every year.
And, all right, so we're going to, is there any discussion about paying our membership to the Michigan Association of School Boards? Is there anyone that, okay, I guess we'll vote on that later. The MHSAA, any discussion on that? Or authorization to participate in the National School Lunch Program? Everyone's okay with the appointment designations that are detailed on page 2? Please, if you have a problem, or either way, just please let me know. Everybody's okay? Tim, Susan, you're okay?
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Well, I'll
Everybody's-
speak up. You can count on it.
Well, I know, but I asked if everybody's okay, and a lot of people were shaking heads, but no, so I just want to move on. So, all right, so everyone, there's no additional discussion there, and we'll be able to move on that at the appointments. Budget revision.
Yes, so, in your board packets are several documents. But we kind of hit the highlights of things that changed since the first proposed budget that was passed in the last meeting of June. This budget revision incorporates 450 per pupil increase versus the original 435 that was budgeted. Also discussed is included is the additional special education funding we're receiving, approximately 400 and some thousand. Additional funding for at-risk, approximately 189,000. Some additional funding for some security is included in revenues. On the expenditure side, some minor changes to incorporate the step grade I did have for the TAA contract that the board is approving this evening. The operations director has been included in this budget, and then reducing the allocation for the security upgrades to 400,000, which is more appropriate to our proposed costs at this point in time. That said, total revenues for this first budget revision is $32,192,249. Total revenue and incoming transfers included is $33,934,392. Excuse me, $92. My apologies. And then total appropriated for expenditures is $32,925,028. That leaves approximately estimated revenues greater than expenditures of $1,009,364. With an estimated beginning fund balance of $4,304,288, which leaves projected ending fund balance at June 30 of 2023 to be $5,313,652, which is approximately 16.14% of total expenditures.
Right, thank you. And that's pretty much what we talked about in the update from the from Finance Committee. So you see the motion is there on that page, right? Any questions now after hearing that update from Kelly? Okay. Bond application.
Bond application was delivered several days ago. This is just all of the financial information and detailed breakdown of each of the programs that has to be approved by the state and then supported by the board. So this is essentially the program that the board has approved sought approval from the state of Michigan, and now having been approved, has to be supported by the will of the board to vote.
So the state has reviewed this and they have approved this.
Correct.
So for summary, for those that didn't receive the board packet, proposal one, the state of Tecumseh Public Schools, Lenawee County, Michigan, borrow the sum of money not to exceed $62 million. The issue is general obligation, unlimited tax bonds, therefore purpose of erecting, furnishing equipment, new elementary school, erecting, furnishing equipment for security, main entry at middle school, a music room addition, secure site entrance addition to the high school, remodeling, furnishing, refurbishing equipment, middle school and high school, installing instructional technology in the buildings, preparing, developing, improving equipment, play fields, playgrounds, sidewalks, parking, and student drop-offs. Proposal one is a 3.62 mils, or $3.62 per thousand. Proposal two, we're asking to borrow a sum of money not to exceed $26,500,000. Creating, furnishing, equipping secure site entrance for the middle school, auxiliary gym addition to the high school, remodeling, furnishing equipment, re-equipment of the middle school, technology for the middle school. I mean, this is all online. You can, if everyone's interested, you can read it. But basically, that is a 1.5 mils on proposal two. Any comments or questions regarding this?
Where does this take the total millage again to versus what it was before we reduced the millage in the May meeting
A little over 8, is that right, from Kelly?
For both.
for both?
For both.
Right,
So-
if you take we're at 3.5 now, right?
We were at 7 point.
I know, but it rolled off. It's 3.5,
It's 3.6.
3.6
Mhm.
plus another 3.6, 2 plus 1.5. So does that say 8.7? Is that right? That seems high.
So proposal one takes us back to the original millage
Close,
amount
it's
we were,
another-
we tried
Just
to
under.
renew.
Right.
Just under. Mhm.
And then the 1.5 is additional.
Right.
Okay.
Just over.
And just for clarification,
no
because
more.
this is a question I've received and I know
Yep.
the answer, but I'm asking it anyway.
Right.
Voters can vote yes on one, yes on two, yes on one, no on two, no on one, yes on two, no on one, no on two. So they are two separate
They're all
proposals.
independent.
That's
They can vote.
not really clear to the public yet. So Yeah.
They can vote yes or no on each, they're
Yeah,
independent
so-
proposals.
I received several questions this weekend about that, about how, are they together? Do you have to vote yes on both to make them happen? So I think let's just make it clear because it might be confusing to certain community members. So, okay.
Any other questions or comments? I think that document is 56 pages. So, and that is all available, board packet online. I did look through a lot of it, but there's a lot of figures there. All right. Now, I guess we'll move on to action items.
So our first one coming up then is going to be, I hereby move to
Wait.
approve. What?
Sorry. Go ahead. No.
I hereby move to approve the 2022 through 2023 food prices as recommended by the Food Service Director as follows. Tecumseh Acres and Sutton Learning Centers for lunch, $2.75. Middle school lunch, $2.75. Patterson Intermediate Learning Center lunch, $2.75. High school lunch, $3.25 for traditional meal, $3.75 for premium meal. Milk prices, 50 cents. Breakfast prices, $1.25.
Point of clarification, there was no Herrick Park, was there?
What?
You're right, it wasn't on there, was it?
What was that?
No Herrick Park.
Park wasn't listed, yeah.
So Herrick Park would be $2.75, sorry. And I'm adding that to my motion.
Second?
275. Okay, the motion has been read and modified to include Herrick Park at $2.75. And it's been supported. Roll call vote, trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Mrs. Brooks, just for clarification, what got me confused, that we have tabled the action item for athletic participation, we have tabled that.
Correct.
I wanted to state that. Okay, please continue.
I hereby move to accept the FSMC contract renewal as recommended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the FSMC contract as presented. Roll call vote, trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Contract approval, renewal approval is approved.
We have also tabled the facility use fee
Yes.
schedule. So moving on to the board schedule. I hereby move to approve the 2022-2023 board meeting schedule as amended regarding the March 27th meeting being moved to the 20th of March and memberships and appointments as recommended.
Support.
We moved and seconded to approve the amended board schedule and the annual membership and appointments. Roll call vote, trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
chair votes aye.
I hereby move to approve the recommendation that the Tecumseh Public Schools Board of Education adopt the attached resolution appropriating total expenditures for the 2022-2023 fiscal year in the amount of $32,925,028 for the Tecumseh Public Schools General Fund.
Support.
We moved and seconded to support the budget revision as presented at tonight's meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Revised budget is approved.
I hereby move to approve the 2022 through 2024 TAA agreement as presented and recommended.
Support.
We moved and seconded to approve the TAA agreement as presented at the last meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Agreement is approved.
I hereby move to approve the bond application as presented and recommended.
Support.
We moved and seconded to approve the bond application as presented at the meeting. Roll call vote, trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Bond application is approved. We'll move on now to the district business.
Point of
consent-
clarification, did we vote on approval of annual memberships and appointments?
Yes.
Yes, it
Okay.
was in
Just
with
wanted to make
the
sure I was-
board
Annual
meeting
membership.
schedule. It was in with
Mark
the board
off my
meeting
mind there.
schedule.
We combined them. And I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items: minutes from the regular board meeting of June 27th, 2022.
Support.
Been moved and seconded to support the consent agenda, which includes the regular minutes from the regular meeting on June 27th. Roll call vote, trustee Tomlin,
Aye.
trustee Simpson,
Aye.
trustee Moore,
Aye.
trustee Lewis,
Aye.
trustee Davis,
Aye.
trustee Brooks,
Aye.
chair votes aye. Consent agenda is approved. Next, superintendent's report.
Just an update on hiring, of the 226 emails that I came back to today. Several, I think 12 of them were approvals for hiring in different spots. So that's nice that we're getting those wrapped up. We still have a couple of volleyball coaches that we're looking for. Help with the pool, lifeguards. We need all that we can get. We're having to change programming and hours at the pool simply because we don't have people to lifeguard. So
We don't have students or past students or anything like that?
we have them, they don't apply.
I mean, I know we have.
Is,
Yeah.
have we,
Is there a program or something we can
Right.
encourage them to do that, like past volleyball players or?
I think this is I remember being here talking about job opportunities in my other
Right.
role. And someone from Bone Pool and the YMCA came with the same pitch. I just think they're not applying for jobs for some reason. There seems to be a lack of interest in.
Everywhere though, it's not just,
Yes.
Right, it's not
No.
limited to our swimming pool.
no.
It's
But we're
unfortunate.
seeing other pools in the county having the same problem.
Yes.
We are the two newest positions that have been posted are the high school principal and a reading coach for the elementary. I'm sure Mr. Hawkins would love to see a flood of applications for maintenance and custodial, but we're still short on applicants there as well. And as far as teaching positions, still looking for a special education resource math teacher specifically.
So third and fifth are already filled?
Third and fifth were one of those 12 approvals that I approved this week. Yep. So doing, last year we hired 23 certified teachers. So it was a very busy summer. This summer a little less hectic, but there's still positions open.
Get cover it?
That's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Hilderly? All right, items scheduled for next agenda. Certainly we'll have good news and we'll have some new discussion items, but we will have action items. We will take action on the building handbooks, the child care handbook, the district Chromebook policy procedure. We'll take action on the athletic rates and the facility usage fees. Mr. Hilderly will be getting investigation. Both those were tabled, so we will add those to the action items for next meeting.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry. Going back to the update on hiring, we had discussed, I'm just wondering if we are going to present those teachers when they are hired to the board.
Yeah. for
I
approval.
can't either.
Yeah.
Becky, I can't hear you.
She had mentioned that we'd like to have teachers come to the board when we're approving their hire. So, yeah.
To meet us, you mean?
Yeah,
To meet us,
we
yeah.
talked about it, I just wasn't sure where we landed
Yeah.
on it, so.
Yeah, and the two teachers that I mentioned, when I say approval, the way that the process works is that document comes to me electronically and I approve Danielle's ability to reach out to that person and begin a negotiation.
Okay,
So if we get that wrapped up before the last meeting, then we will invite those people to come to the meeting to meet the board.
so I knew we discussed it, just wasn't sure where we landed.
Yeah.
Sorry, one other question, Mr. Hilderly. I apologize for not asking during the report. Do we know the first in-service day for teachers?
I think it was on that calendar.
23rd?
I think it's the 21st of September is a half day.
Oh,
No, I mean
you're
the
talking about
first.
prior
Oh, I
to-
day they-
apologize.
23,
Sorry.
4, 5. First day back for teachers is 23rd August.
Okay.
And then we have trainings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so 23, 4, 5 August.
We would love to do a clap in again. So some of
And
the
a hot
students
dog.
have brought that up and maybe we can
Really?
do our thing again.
Tom will
Wel-
help.
Welcome back.
Your cool things that you got. Okay.
So you'll investigate it. Welcome back.
Yeah, we can set that up.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Hilderly? All right, we'll move on to closing. First item, part of the closing is public comment. Public comment's open for any and all issues. Please remember that there is a 3-minute time limit on all comments. I will, once you start your comments, if there are any, I will start the button here and then the alarm will go off when your 3 minutes have expired. Do you have any public comment?
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Landstrom. I'm the parent of a senior in Tecumseh High School. Following the announcement that the district was merely reassigning Mr. Niles after the investigation into his conduct, I and several other parents in the district were approached by students wanting to voice their concerns. These students, who are all female minors at Tecumseh High School, wanted to speak up about their negative interactions with Mr. Niles in hopes of actually being heard and validated. They also hoped it might spur reconsideration of the decision to continue his employment in Tecumseh. We wanted to provide them that opportunity, whether it was to support them while they spoke here tonight or by reading statements for them. In the end, the task was too dreadful for some to face. Many felt that they had already spoken up and weren't believed. Many worried that their assertions would have a negative impact on their families, friends, or trusted educators. And some voiced concerns that they could experience the same inappropriate encounters again since Mr. Niles was remaining in their educational setting. I'm here because I do not want their absence to be misconstrued in any way as silence. The onus is not on these young people to prove that they experienced was severe enough to warrant the dismissal of Mr. Niles. The community knows that inappropriate, unprofessional interactions occurred between the high school principal and one or more students. Those of us who these students have confided in can tell you that no adult should have ever thought that the things said or done to them was okay. Someone who exhibited the interactions that we can share with you cannot be retrained, and no grown man should need to be taught to refrain from touching their hair and faces or making comments about these young women, their looks, or their bodies. And if they do, they don't belong working in any educational institution. Here is one account from a female student who did formally go on record and report her experience to the district. Quote, "Every student, every day. That's the TPS motto, right? The last 2 to 3 years of THS have been difficult. New administrators, curriculum changes, COVID, and with the return of Mr. Niles, sexual harassment and objectification of the very students that he is responsible for. We shouldn't have to hear these kind of remarks from anyone, especially not the principal of our school. So despite our anxiety and fears of retribution, and with the guidance and support of our families, teachers, and classmates, we spoke out, because that's what we've been taught to do, to speak out about injustice, to be responsible citizens. The administration let us down. Not only did Mr. Niles not get fired, but he was given a brand new position in administration that gives him access to all the buildings in the district. Every student, every day? I don't think so." End quote. So it's no secret that Dennis Niles has a history of negative press surrounding his employment in multiple districts. Tecumseh Public Schools can either continue to turn a blind eye, or you can be the ones that put it into it.
Thank you.
My name's April Bradley. I have a 10th grader here in Tecumseh. Another story from a student here. I've witnessed my own principal act inappropriately towards one of my classmates in a public setting. I feel as if it is only right to inform others of what I experienced. During lunch prior to school ending, my classmate sat at a table near me and used a swear word. The second time she did use the swear word, Mr. Niles walked over to her and practically sat on her lap and began to tease her by using his fingers and hands around her mouth. I remember him telling her, "Don't cuss," and I saw his finger enter her mouth. Even though she may have been laughing, she yelled for him to stop, causing the entire lunchroom to turn around and stare and become quiet. After that, she told me how uncomfortable it made her. Plenty of people that witnessed that incident were super unsure of how to feel in that moment. It was very confusing and uncomfortable for us to see. Now I can see the public needs to know what has happened and how uncomfortable touching a student, including inside their mouth, makes them feel while they are telling you to stop. Also, you should know many of your staff have approached me wanting to speak out about Mr. Niles, but are in fear of losing their jobs. So let me quote only a few due to time constraints. Please let Mr. Hilderly know that unfortunately he has staff too dang nervous to lose their job to stand up and say what he is doing is wrong. We, the staff, were told by Rick that due to the bond not passing, it is not in the budget to have a principal at each schools, but we can certainly make a new job for a child predator. Mr. Hilderly, as you know, I don't have any daughters in this district. I do, however, have one son left. I think we both know if my son displayed any of these actions, he would have been suspended or expelled, not giving a six-figure promotion. It saddens me that this is the example you're okay for setting young men in our community. Our town should be very concerned, and you guys should all be ashamed. I know you have daughters, and safe to assume one day granddaughters. If this was your daughter or granddaughters, would you be saying the same would be okay? Would you be praising the people making these same choices? This also leaves me with questions about how Mr. Niles fell so quickly into this newly created position. Was he properly vetted and picked above all other candidates? What happened to the budget cuts you told your staff about when there were no money left for two principals? One final question for you tonight. If Mr. Niles made such bold, disgusting, inappropriate comments or gestures in a public lunchroom full of children, what do you think he'll do behind closed doors when our children have already come forward to step forward to say how they feel? You guys continue shutting them down. We owe our children a safe environment.
Kim Amstutz-Wild. I'm reading a note on behalf of several staff members. Dear Board, it is disappointing to say, as staff members, that we feel it necessary to have this letter read anonymously rather than stating our opinion ourselves. We cherish the community of teachers and students that work in our buildings and would hate to see that lost due to a disagreement with our higher-ups. The situation regarding Mr. Niles is nothing short of a letdown for our district. It was clearly stated that he did not meet the expectations of professionalism in the workplace. Yet he was still provided with a brand-new position that allows him access to even more buildings. Earlier in the school year, all staff was informed that Herrick Park and Patterson would be forced to share a principal for the upcoming school year due to budgeting problems. The specific decision directly affects your entire third and fourth grade student body. Staff was told that they are so great at their job that they can handle it. That same staff has now found out that Mr. Niles has had a director position created for him due to his unprofessionalism. The administrator, who will now be splitting her time between two buildings, is nothing short of astounding. Unfortunately, she is now being shown that the support for her and her position is not nearly as important as his, although she has shown nothing but exceptional dedication to her staff, students, and families. We would love to hear where the money came from to create this new position, as well as hire a new principal to fill his shoes. This type of behavior unfortunately comes as no surprise, but as staff members, we do not support the decision and hope that some type of explanation can be given to all of your staff.
Hi, excuse me. I'm Jacob Martinez. I have 2 children in the district. Thank you for your time today. I'm gonna confine my remarks to kind of a brief talk about an overlap between education and medical research that I think may be useful to consider and guide the board and the district as we, as a community, talk about this issue with Mr. Niles. Over the last 25 years, there's been a robust body of research developed that looks at educational outcomes in students who are the victim of gender or sexual harassment or abuse in their school. And this has demonstrated quite definitively that these students have lower educational attainment at a post-secondary level than peers who did not experience this type of harassment or abuse. But over the last 10 years or so, researchers have started to ask the question of the impact of the institution's response. And research now really shows that when students perceive the institution to be supportive and to be taking action to address their concerns, you can obviate some of that change in educational outcomes. Additionally, with this research, there's some suggestion that students who attend schools that are perceived to be supportive of students who are victims of harassment and assault do better in terms of educational attainment, even when they themselves were not the victim. I don't doubt that everyone here, the board, the staff, the community, all shares the interest of a safe environment that provides the best education we can give our students. I think this is an opportunity to further that mission, to actively demonstrate to the students that their safety and their education remain the board's top priorities and the community's top concerns. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shelley Moore. I have a 9th grader who will be at the high school in the fall. And I'm going to first speak on behalf of another female student. And I quote, "Being a young female in today's society, we are taught that it is imperative to be aware of our surroundings, to never look at your phone when you're walking through a parking lot, to lock your doors as soon as you get in your car, to carry pepper spray, etc. Our schools should feel like the safest place. And unfortunately, that was not true for the case this past school year. I speak on behalf of all females when I say that this school year was anything but comfortable. Students noticed quickly how much Mr. Niles liked the cheerleaders. He would make sexual comments on clothing and uniforms, take pictures of female students without their consent, talk to girls outside the bathrooms, and touch girls even when they were expressing how uncomfortable they were. Quickly, I noticed myself, and including myself, to avoid any conversation with Niles because they did not want to have an interaction with him like so many of the other girls did. I should not have to feel as if I have to avoid a staff member in fear of being sexualized or put in an uncomfortable position. Though he was not found guilty of any crimes, you would think that the school district would not want his face representing us. However, instead of removing him, you put him in a position overseeing the community pool to victimize more students than just the high school. You keep a man with countless misconduct allegations against him. However, you removed the person I felt most comfortable confiding in about this situation. This makes me beyond disappointed in the district. I feel as a student that I should have a safe place and an adult to express my feelings to. But as I speak out, that is stripped away from me. I hope that after this board meeting reconsiders their decision and Mr. Niles, not only for me, but for other students who are here, who will come after me. There's such a thing as harassment, and there's also such thing as institutional harassment and institutional betrayal. And again, research is showing that girls and boys who are victimized and suffer from these kind of inappropriate situations, they have a lot of stress. The kids these days have a ton of stress. They worry every day about their peers, their grades, how they're doing in sports. They worry about, is somebody going to come in and blow them up? You need to make them feel safe. You need not to betray their trust.
All right. Last call. Thank you to all of you who came forward. We certainly will take your comments into consideration. Board member comments or discussion points. Any board members?
I just want to say that we have 16 students signed up to go to a really cool field trip, open to all county schools, for kids 7th through rising 12th who might want to be an educator. Siena Heights and Adrian College are hosting that, and that's a really cool opportunity. Their education students are going to work with those interested kids and see if they have an affinity to be a teacher. And I thought that was pretty cool that 16 kids would do that. And thanks to Megan and 2 potential advisors, one at the middle school and one at the high school. And hopefully with board approval, eventually we'll be able to have an Ed Rising Club next year so that kids can get some leadership and some training in that area to see if they may want to be a teacher. And I, for one, am pretty excited about that.
That is awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody? Yes, Lynn?
Well, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Along those same lines, I just want to say that I went with my husband, who's a plumber, to pick up his ring that he waited forever for because he retired. But we ran into somebody we know, and I started talking about being on the school board. And long story short, they meet, all the trades get together twice a month, and Mary and I are going to go, and maybe even Megan if she wants to. And he talked about how they would come into schools and they would bring the tradesmen with them, and from all the trades, the pipe fitters and welders and plumbers and electricians. And so Mary and I are going to team up on
A
that.
field trip.
We're going to have a little field trip. I might even buy her lunch.
Oh my God, that'd be delightful, Suzanne.
Order the steak.
Why will she order lobster?
She doesn't eat meat. So.
Yeah, she doesn't eat beef.
I eat fish.
Lynn?
So, I want to give a shout out to Kelly for putting the budget information together so quickly. I know it was like
36 hours, I think, before the budget committee meeting that the state shared the additional funding. So I appreciate her putting that together so quickly. But again, about the budget, just to reiterate this, it appears to be over the last couple of years, we've gotten lucky with more funding. And the economic signals that are out there are not positive in the future. So my request, and I'm only one of 7, but my request is that we understand better as we move into the second year of the strategic activity, what are the optimal things that we need to do in the district to spend the taxpayer money the proper way. So I just want to make sure that we're doing that. Related to that is the facilities committee chair, which I recognize this might get me removed as the facilities committee's chair, but since we have reinstated a dormant position in the title of director of operations, I think it's important for Mr. Hilderly to share with the board what are the expectations of that position, and how that position interacts with people like Mr. Hawkins, like the pool director, like the school administrators, because that's really not so clear, and we are spending additional salary to support that. So regardless of the person sitting in that chair, it's important for us to understand the job description and the expectations of that director. So if that could be shared with us, I think that would be helpful for us, not necessarily at a meeting unless you wanted to, but at least so that we were, for those of us who were not on the board when the director of operations position was active previously, if we could understand what those expectations are, I think that would be helpful for us. It's also, we get maybe questions from the public about what that position is and what that position does. So,
Greg, weren't you in that position last?
Was.
All right, anybody else?
Yes, I do. I want to say, I'm glad to hear about the Chromebook problem being cleared up. We have less vandalism, destruction, mistakes. I mean, have you put, how many times has somebody on your own personal laptop open up the truck door or something and it falls out? So accidents happen, but that big of a decrease, because I was the last director of operations, I know what those numbers look like. That's a big decrease, and I think probably our staff, our teaching staff and administrators have probably tightened up the use of it, and also the fact that people aren't here and not here because of COVID. There's more supervision, but that's good to see that damage amount is done. We had 2 teachers sent us an email a month or 2 ago about getting smart boards. I don't know where we're at with that, but we're a month away from when they would really like to have them. And I know that we had smart boards put in this building when it was built. We haven't updated them at all. I don't know that every teacher in here wants one. I strongly doubt that. But certainly the people who have them now and continue to use them, those are dead or dying. And we need to replace those for them, especially when those people who are teaching AP classes. I know it's been released, but I'd love to say it because our AP calculus kids this year, 37 took the test. All 37 got college credit. 25 of the 37 got a perfect 5.
That's like a Super Bowl.
That's like a state championship in math. So that's incredible when you see. I don't know if there's another public school in the state that can boast 100%. So that's amazing. And when people like he, and then there's it's not just him, but our people who teach the advanced placement classes, they put a lot of time in the summer prepping. So we need to support them with the tools it takes to do what they do.
I think that's it. Good. That's all, Greg.
That's enough, isn't it?
That's never. That's good.
That's
anyone
plenty.
else?
Just gotta clarify to Lynn's point. Maybe I misheard, but it kind of sounded like you were concerned about the way we budgeted in the past.
no, not the budget, the actual job description.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it. I get the budget. as a new board member from when Mr. Lewis held the position, don't understand the job description. We received a very high level.
Oh, no, beyond that.
Oh.
Oh, you were talking about, allocating things better in the future.
I don't think that's budgeting, Becky. I think that's management and strategic planning. So
Yeah, like I was
I don't
saying,
think it's the
painting,
budgeting.
different
think it's-
repairs.
Projecting.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
the rainy day things. It's
Okay.
saving up for important things like floor, that kind of thing, not the budgeting. The budgeting's,
And that was,
Yeah.
when we had the meeting, where I was in Georgia, actually, I think we kind of had that, started the conversation about we're getting to a point where we can start putting some pots of money aside. Yeah, it really hasn't been an option up until recently, but, we are getting to that point where we've built up that fund equity. We've kind of shored up some areas, and we can start having a little bit of pots put aside for those kind of expenditures. So, yeah.
and I think we all can agree too, if there is some optimization that can occur, it's better to start it and do a multiple year program of optimization
Oh,
versus
absolutely.
if a financial downfall occurs and we have to make last minute decisions where we can. I mean,
Right,
not everything
right.
can be done that way, but yeah, it's not related to how the budget was put together. Yeah. that's
Can I
fine.
ask one more question?
Sure.
I don't know if
Speak-
Megan
speak
will
loudly.
have the answer or not, but I don't know if Megan will have the answer or not, but I just, like we're getting this great English curriculum, which I'm super excited about. Are there delays? Are we on target for getting our curriculum, so that, because, teachers work all summer on getting everything ready,
It's coming. There's still printing delays.
Okay.
We're along that back wall, there's tons of boxes
Oh,
that come in, so
that's
I
good
sort
news.
through those, which may obviously not keep-
Good deal.
But they should be here in time.
Perfect. Because I really, that's like, I think we're all pretty excited that we're going to have another new curriculum in addition to the math. So that's a big deal.
On to social studies and science.
On to social studies and science. Science first,
right.
then social studies.
Are we good? Anybody else? If there's no other comments, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Again, I'm-